We request that all of you stand up. And so, yeah, that's all that we are requesting. And you are all most welcome. We appreciate it, that you are committed to rebuild the city itself. It's our city, and no one is going to take it away from us as South Africans. Yeah, we can all be seated. Good morning, President. You're most welcome. Yeah, in the city of Johannesburg. Colleagues, I'm the program director. President, a quick one, just behind you, 2 seats behind you. There are all MMCs who, for the past 2 days, they've been with us. They've been having gloves and working hard to clean the city, of course, led by the executive mayor. And then just behind them, it's NGOs, and then the rest are business people. A number of business people who came on board, about 120. And those who participated, about 60. Today, there are 25. And so there'll be a pledge, and business is committed to rebuild this city. Thank you, Comrade President. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed ECOs and business leaders, executive mayor, and members of the mayoral committee, representatives from the province and provincial government. I've got the acting premier, Lebogang Maile. You're most welcome. The minister, you're most welcome. And we've got a deputy minister and the other deputy minister at the back from Cllr, who's definitely, they are putting their eyes on the city and other cities. And most importantly, the President of the Republic of South Africa. Good morning, and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. It is an honor to gather here at the historic Walter Sisulu Square of Dedication, a place where the Freedom Charter first declared the hopes and aspirations of our nation. Today, in that same spirit, that same collective spirit and the purpose, we come together for another defining moment in Johannesburg, the renewal journey, the formal launch of the CEO City Cleaning Up campaign. This gathering is a profound demonstration of leadership in action. This is leadership that is in action, President. We are joined this morning by the President of the Republic, by the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg and his team, and by many of the other most important influential CEOs and business partners, all united behind a single mission: restore the city to a great city. Your presence, Comrade President, here reflects something powerful, that the rebuilding of Johannesburg is not a responsibility of government alone. It requires shared accountability, collective action, and a renewed commitment of serving the communities who live, work, and hope in the city. Today symbolizes that partnership. Over the past month, the city, under the stewardship of the executive mayor and his team, has initiated an ambitious program to accelerate service delivery, tackle urban decay, and strengthen community confidence. But what distinguishes this moment is that the private sector has stepped forward not merely to observe, but as active partners. CEOs are rolling up their sleeves, deploying teams, mobilizing networks, and signaling visibility that Johannesburg's future matters. The Clean City campaign serves as the flagship launch of the broader CEO City Partnership Program, a program designed to inspire sustained cooperation between government and business, backed by real action on the ground. Across the 3 days, Comrade President, and across multiple precincts, this partnership will show what is possible when leadership converges behind a shared vision for impact. We are deeply grateful for the commitment you have shown, for the energy you bring, and for the belief that Johannesburg can and will rise again. This morning marks not only the start of the day's activities, but the beginning of a long-term journey of stewardship and collaboration, and that we will leave a legacy far beyond the events. As program director, it is my privilege to guide us through this significant occasion. May today remind us that when government and business work hard and hand in hand, transformation is not only possible, it is inevitable. Once again, welcome and thank you for joining us at this historic launch. I thank you. I will now call Audrey to come and give us a short piece. Please, Audrey.
His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, Executive Mayor Dada Morero, Honorable Ministers, MMCs, City Entity Heads and Directors, Regional Directors, members of the Bomb Squad Rapid Response Team, private sector CEOs and company representatives, all protocols observed. This morning, we gather on the third day of the CEO initiative, an initiative rooted in the need to jointly rebuild the Joburg we reimagine. From the private sector CEO perspective, this initiative can be summarized in 3 parts. 1, Honorable President, the challenge. This refers to the trust deficit resulting from many years of neglected and deteriorating service delivery. With this challenge, an opportunity for the executive mayor and the city to rebuild this trust. As we all know, trust is earned. Let this challenge be a call to action to the city from the private sector. The second part, the opportunity. This refers to each and every CEO, private sector entity, SMME, businessman and woman, clearly unpacking the opportunity for all in a high-functioning, world-class city. The return on investments made, an increase in job opportunities, and the fertile ground for much-needed entrepreneurial growth. None of us here today, in this room, from the private sector, can sit back and do nothing for such an opportunity not to be realized. The third part, our collective desires as citizens to see the city succeed. Johannesburg is the financial capital of the country. We all have a responsibility to make this a success. And it's for this reason that many of us, both present and both out there already active, present and continue to challenge ourselves to invest and find ways to remain invested and committed. So, Honorable President, Honorable Executive Mayor, we as the private sector remain committed, but we will also hold each other accountable as we rebuild this trust. With this in mind, the support you see here today from the CEOs comes with both hope and some trepidation. Hope that is because a way of life and just not an event. We have to make this how we do business and run the city. Hope that is sustainable. We require a commitment from the city to ensure that that service delivery continues with the allocated levels of responsibility and accountability. The trepidation comes from existing trust deficit. I've mentioned that over and over again because it keeps us awake, Honorable President and Executive Mayor. This program has to be embedded sustainably. It would be amiss of me if I did not mention that part of the trust deficit that we have experienced in the private sector comes out of the fear that political interference can be a risk factor towards making this a long-term sustainable program. But that has not stopped us. The private sector and the companies committed here today continue to put their hands up, continue to wake up to create jobs, will continue to invest, and we remain hopeful for that. What we know for sure as businesses invested and committed to the city and the country is that the long-term success and sustainability of this initiative will be possible if we continue to work together and hold each other accountable. Thank you.
Because we are in the city of Johannesburg, and so I'll request the acting Premier, Lebogang Maile, to welcome us.
Thanks, Program Director. I thought it's the Mayor who will welcome us. But thank you very much, Program Director. Let me start by acknowledging His Excellency, the Honorable President of the Republic, Honorable Cyril Ramaphosa. Acknowledge His Worship, the Executive Mayor of our city of Johannesburg, Dada Morero. Acknowledge Honorable Minister for Trade and Industry and Competition, Minister Mpotau, the two deputy ministers present here today. We acknowledge you as well, members of the mayoral committee, the various CEOs who are here today. On behalf of the Gauteng provincial government, we would like to welcome you, Honorable President. We also like to extend our gratitude to the CEOs and the different private sector players who have committed to work with us as government in the province and in the city to revive our city, to ensure that we fight crime, to ensure that we grow the economy, and that ultimately we are able to defeat poverty, we are able to defeat inequality, and we are able to create a better life for all our citizens. And we know, Honorable President, that it's not going to be an easy task. It will require that we become consistent, and that we focus on the job, that we become decisive, and most importantly, we need to utilize the resources at our disposal properly. And that's why we have to combine efforts with the private sector. We have to tap into the knowledge, the skills, and the resources of both private sector, government, and civil society. Ladies and gentlemen, Program Director, I was asked to welcome, not to speak, because the President of the Republic is here, so I can't say much except to welcome all of you and wish that we succeed, because beyond G20 we have to sustain these programs. So thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Acting Premier. Now it's time for the Executive Mayor to welcome us and give us exactly what we've been doing over the last few days and give us marching order. Mayor, Executive Mayor.
No, I can wait a speech. Good morning, CEOs, and of course acknowledging the ministers that are here, deputy ministers, and members of the mayoral committee, CEOs, members of our bomb squad, and the President of the Republic. You acknowledged, Mr. President. I think where we are, there are two issues or three issues that we would want to raise. One, it's in relation to the support we need in the inner city. We are in the process of reclaiming the inner city in collaboration with private sector and civil society. One of the key issues we want national support on is Department of Home Affairs. We need it quite urgently to help us deal with some of the problems. We believe with Home Affairs being consistent in the inner city, we'll be able to push back and reclaim the inner city of Joburg. And that's what we need from you. We need the police to help us deal with the crime and drugs. Drugs have escalated to levels at which the trading stalls are now used to push drugs in the inner city. So we require support from your side to help us push the South African Police Service to really come on board and conduct necessary operations. Three, on the same aspect of the SAPS, is conducting raids in buildings that we constantly identify as buildings that have turned into a safe haven for criminals who are conducting heinous crimes in the city. So we need the support of the President on that score. The rest of the things, I suppose, we've got the ability and the capacity ourselves to do it. We can also give a report to the President that after the court judgment, we are now at the point where we are allocating stalls to rightful traders in the inner city. From the 14th, we'll now be allocating the actual stalls so that trading can begin in the right places, safer spaces, and allocated spaces. We have now received just around 211 traders were linked on the court judgment, and we have now allocated them space. We are just awaiting to finalize those that have refugee and asylum status, and once we have cleared those, we'll also allocate. And those that are naturalized South Africans, we are also finalizing. However, we have now received new applicants, and the number is around 1,500 of people who wants to trade in the inner city. So we'll be looking at what are innovative ways that we can deal with to ensure that they can trade in a proper designated areas and start avoiding pavements and rather look at options of creating better linear markets where they can start their trading. So I thought I should give that report and give a sense of where we are in terms of the work that we are doing in the inner city. CEOs have therefore made commitments. We have been with them for the last 2 days. This is the 3rd day. They're making serious commitments. But what is of importance is businesses that are currently in the inner city, whether it's ABSA, Standard Bank, who are now pledging that they will stay in the inner city because we don't want them to leave the inner city. So we must do the right things for them to be able to stay and not leave the inner city. So that's where we are, Mr. President, and we appreciate the support that we're getting from the deputy ministers, in particular, who have been here with us, Deputy Minister Kekana. She even wants to be a member of the bomb squad. And I've been processing her application because I think she has taken a decision with some of the ministers, deputy ministers, that Joburg has to work. And all of us must make it to work, because if Joburg works, I suspect the country will work. Thank you, Program Director.
Mr. President, you must know that we are joined by the city's CEOs and MDs. These are the people who are driving, especially the transformation, the renewal, the replacement of infrastructure that is in decay, of course led by the mayor. And so, Mr. President, can you kindly come up and give us encouragement of what to do, and also how we can get support from you. Can we all rise for the President? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, President.
Well, thank you very much. Let's be seated, please. Thank you. Thank you, Program Director. The Acting Premier, Acting Premier Maile. Now, I get a bit confused when I have to extend my salutations to the Executive Mayor, because he's called worship. Now, I've become very sensitive now to these prefixes or these titles, particularly having come back from meeting Pope Leo at the Vatican City. He is referred to as His Holiness. Now, yesterday I was in Ekurhuleni and the mayor was there, and Deputy Minister Zikalala laid emphasis on the title worship. So I started comparing worship with holiness. And I concluded that the Pope is holy. The mayor, much as they say we should worship them, they are not holy. So as we were going through the Vatican City, there's a particular gate where you go through, and I think this is well, I shouldn't, maybe to Catholics, shouldn't say it's a fable, but they said once you go through that gate, and later in the evening somebody asked, did you go through that arch door or whatever? And I said, yes. They said, all your sins are forgiven. So you may well be looking at a man whose sins have been wiped off. I want to greet His Worship, the Executive Mayor, and the councillors who work with the Mayor, as well as Minister Ongliso, Minister Tau, and the Deputy Ministers. And of course, let me also extend my salutations to the various members or leaders of NGOs who have come forward to be counted when it comes to restoring the glory of this city that I was born in and grew up in. And I also extend my greetings to the CEOs and business leaders who have joined this whole task. When the Executive Mayor announced that he was forming a bomb squad, I started conjuring up in my head the real bomb squad that we have in rugby, of men who are, strong and burly and really muscled. When I heard that Snooki Zikalala is a member of the bomb squad, I looked at him a few times, But let me acknowledge those who have also joined this squad, this response team. As it was set up, I did think that it was going to make a real contribution to the work that we must all get engaged in and restoring Johannesburg to its former glory. I have taken time, and at times at night, to drive through the city to the consolation of my protectors as they follow me. Sometimes I do sneak a drive on my own and so on, and they get terrified when they see me do that. And I have seen the need to restore this city to its former glory. But I should say that as one time I drove around, I saw that attention was being paid, particularly when it comes to safety and dealing with criminality. But the mayor knows that sometimes when I'm also driven around, even on the highways, when I see weeds and all that on the highways, I've often called him. And when I see the ramps on the highways damaged, and I've often said, even at this late stage, I could still decide that the G20 should go elsewhere, maybe to a little dorpy in the Northern Cape. That terrified him a great deal. And I could see that there was now action that was taking place. There's been criticism, part of which I also had to deal with in Parliament when I was answering questions, that what is being done now in Johannesburg could well be a flash in the pan, that the work that is being done will peter out as soon as our visitors are gone. But I have said that many cities around the world, and one sees this as we go either for summits or big meetings and conferences, they do tend to use that moment of the summit or conference as an impetus to revamp themselves, to spruce themselves up. And I did say in Parliament that that is what we all do when we know that there are visitors coming. We clean up, we hide, dirt or whatever, but this time we shouldn't hide dirt, we should actually clean it up. And this is the work that you have undertaken. But I did also say that I'm confident that what we are now doing in Johannesburg, there will be a follow-through. It is not going to be a one-day event. It is going to be work that we will want to take through for many months and a year and more, because the work, as the mayor was saying, to reposition this city is quite enormous, but it is doable. Many cities around the world have gone through what we are going through here in Johannesburg. They have revamped themselves, and there are big cities with big names and with big histories and all that. New York and Chicago were some of those cities. But on our own continent, there is a city that is quite historic in a country that was never colonized, which is Addis Ababa. Those of you who might have gone to Addis Ababa a few years ago, if you go there today, you'll see a completely different Addis Ababa, which is pleasant, which is attractive, which actually has a pull factor, pulling people to go, and which is safe, which is clean, which is well organized. And the president, the prime minister, had told me that he is going to plant 1 billion trees. And that inspired me a great deal, and I came back and I told Comrade Minister Barbara Creasy, and I said, I want 10 billion trees throughout South Africa. She got really terrified. But I said, it is doable. So the work that you've embarked upon, and I'm here to give a word of encouragement, we have also seen in our own country, Durban or eThekwini had started its own journey almost to the bottom. And it was the business community that met me once when I was in Durban and said, President, we want to meet you alone. We don't even want the mayor, we don't want the premier, we just want to meet you alone. And they said, we want to reclaim Durban and bring it back to its glory day as the Mecca of tourism in our country. And they made a commitment commitment which I really found moving. And they said, we are prepared to invest money, not only to revamp the hotels, the iconic hotels that most of us would know as we have toured or been tourists in Durban. We are prepared to revamp the streets of Durban and restore Durban. And they started doing that. But they asked for an intervention from National. It was upon that I set up the Presidential Working Group for eThekwini. And that Presidential Working Group has been at work. Many people who have gone to Durban now do testify that Durban has become restored and is becoming restored to its former glory. Another time when I went to Durban, they said they wanted to give me a report. And we utilized the district development model because eThekwini on its own is a district, one of the 52 districts that we've got. And we found that working at a district level, where you mobilize various resources and build meaningful partnerships with the province, with the city, and in the city to get those who are elected as well as those who are officials, and to get business, to get churches, to get sports organizations, to get non-governmental organizations like NGOs who do quite a lot of work. And we brought them all together. And each of those entities had its clearly defined role, but working in partnership, working together. Now, this is what I see evolving here in Johannesburg. But I think you are taking it a lot further in that you've now mobilized CEOs, community-based organizations, to clean up. Durban did not do much of that. They utilized the existing services in the city. But you are taking it to another level. And that is why, for me, today is an important day. You have already started, and your work is being seen as being impactful. People are noticing it. Although the critics will always say, oh yes, this is just for show. This is just for the G20. But I do believe that this will be durable, that you will be able to take the work that you are doing forward. It is important to restore Johannesburg to its former glory. This is the most important city on the continent. We may not be as populous as Lagos, but we are the financial center of the continent. We have the biggest stock exchange on the continent in Johannesburg. And we've got many corporates, leading corporates that operate here. It was a sight of sadness to see a number of them beginning to move northwards. And yet Johannesburg has always been, for more than 100 years, the real center of business. And what you are doing is encouraging, and the messages that I'm now hearing from the executive mayor that a number of corporates have decided that they are going to stay, and that's precisely what we want. But a word that one must then pass on to those who are executively involved and administratively involved in running the city is that let us ensure that we execute. We execute the plans that we have. Now, the challenges that Johannesburg is facing led me then to decide that we should have a presidential working group for Johannesburg, which we have set up and which has started its work. And of course, when new things start, there's always, doubts and resistance here and there. One of the things that made me a bit unhappy was to hear that officials were not really paying so much attention to the work that needs to be done by the working group. I'm glad that a number of them are here. And all I would say is that in order to get Johannesburg to go up the ladder, we do need everyone's hands on deck. We do need officials whose job is going to be, on a daily basis, do the work that needs to be done. And when we have a working group like we are setting up or have set up, it will do not only oversight, and now in Johannesburg it's quite clear to me that you want to dirty your hands. You want to do the work as delineated with what the rapid response team or the bomb squad has now set out. Snooki Zigalala sent me a wonderful presentation this morning. I must say that I only got it now this morning and haven't gone through it. It's got beautiful pictures, but I want those pictures to have meaning, to gain life. I want to see that indeed all those beautiful boxes, colorful boxes, do actually mean that work is being done. So today I'm glad to be here. And I don't want this to be my last visit. I want to come even after the G20. The plans for the G20 are in place, and I will be going to Nasrec after this visit just to go and see what the level of preparedness is. An executive mayor, we've got like 7 days to go or so, or 8 days, and I will be looking out from my car window to see whether on the roads and everything else, things are ready. Nasrec itself as a center is ready, and I'd like to see that the city will be a city that people will remember once they've come here. Johannesburg is well known world over. Many people know Johannesburg, and when we emerge from the G20, we will have the Johannesburg Declaration. In the life of the G20, it will be remembered, and I want the memory for Johannesburg not only be the substantive issues that we are going to address there, but also to mean that people found Johannesburg a really beautiful city, a clean city, and, as I often say, a city that is going somewhere. Yesterday, I addressed the construction summit, the construction industry summit, and I said there that we have, as a government, decided that we are going to invest R1 trillion. The very first time in the history of our country, and indeed I would even say in the history of the continent, that R1 trillion is being set aside for investment in infrastructure. What I want to see is that money being properly utilized. I don't want to even hear that there's been corruption or any type of malfeasance. And I said to the construction industry, people who were there, they were, contractors, builders, and academics, and engineers, and architects, and all that. And I said, let's set up projects that are going to benefit or access this R1 trillion. Let us set up bankable projects. And I even related that once, many, many years ago, I went to Beijing, and I saw cranes all over Beijing. And when I came back, I said, this country is on a journey somewhere. Now, that's exactly what we want to see here in Johannesburg as well, in the greater Johannesburg area, that we should see progress. We should see real infrastructure being planted in the ground. And we should see how Johannesburg can be attractive to investments so that we can deliver a better life for our people, but also to make Johannesburg an investable city. Investors are attracted to progress. They are also attracted to good order, to best service delivery, but they are also attracted to beauty. So let us, in everything that we do, Executive Mayor, together with your councillors and your management committee, let us take this very seriously and make it happen. Johannesburg belongs to the club of great cities. Your slogan, to make Johannesburg a world-class African city, speaks to that. Let us fold our sleeves, and make our hands dirty and do precisely that. We cannot and must not allow Johannesburg to go down into the doldrums. We must get Johannesburg to reach for the sky. And therefore, I'm here to encourage you all and to applaud you for the commitment that you are showing. Let's get down to work and make Johannesburg great again. This is the real McCoy slogan, make Johannesburg great again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the inspiring presentation, President. We are done now with our formalities, colleagues. And so the next, I'm sure you must be having the program. There'll be walkabout and interactions with the CEO. We'll request that the President should be given time so that he can interact with the CEO when you do the walkabout. And then there'll be planting of trees. And also we should make sure that there is space for the President to do that with the CEOs and the MMCs who are there. And then, of course, the President is going to light the flame at the Water Sulu's precinct. And so that's our next program. And then from there, there'll be doorstep with the media briefing. And that's the end of the program. We hope that to be out of here at least by 10 o'clock. We hear that the President has got another engagement. With that, colleagues, can we allow the President to walk out and come accompanied by the CEOs so that they can interact with him, some of the MMCs, but the Executive Mayor will be there. Thank you.